Greetings and welcome back again, BUSN-1360 Software Apps for Business Students. I'm Dr. McGrory, your instructor. So today we start into Word Chapter 3, which is all about formatting documents. Our skill review project today is 3.2. This is the assigned project, and it presents a lot of challenging concepts. I think you're going to like it. Let's just go ahead and jump in and get started. I made some changes to that. Okay, so I am logged into PAWS. You know this is always where we start. I'll just point out that as we go into Word Module 4, we have finished Chapter 1, we finished Chapter 2. You see the videos that are there. And those videos are significant because they've given you a lot of the foundation that's going to make it possible to go a little faster in this video. So if you've been missing out on some of those tips and tricks from the earlier videos, you may want to go through and use the links to review just key parts of that video. So you know you need to complete the sim book first. Then we're going to go into the skill project and always begin by starting at the link in PAWS so that your grade will synchronize. In other words, so that SIMnet will pass that grade automatically to PAWS. Of course, I don't have that type of account, so I'm going directly into SIMnet. I've opened up the Skill Review 3.2, and here we are. Now, you know the first step is to download the start file. I encourage you to download the solution file, especially as we're starting to get into a little more fancy things, where it's much more helpful to be able to view the solution file. I'm going to minimize Chrome because you know at this point, we need to have a location. We need to plan. We need to organize. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on my desktop. I'm going to click New, Folder, and I'm going to call this Word 3 and press Enter. Go ahead and open that up so that you can see there's nothing there, and then we'll see our files populate into that folder. Okay, so let's start with the start file. Why not? I'm going to click that. Now, you know I have many folders on my desktop. I'm navigating to my Word 3 folder, and I'm just going to save there. Then my browser should remember that location. Now, I am in Chrome. Different browsers operate differently. I am in Chrome, which is the preferred browser. I'm going to click on the solution file. Remember, this is an Adobe Acrobat file. It's a PDF. So if you have not already downloaded the free reader, I encourage you to do that. Click Save. So both of my files are downloaded. If I look at my instructions, and I'm using the Windows instructions here, I can understand that we're doing some editing. We're making a nice document. I can see the skills that I'm going to apply. All kinds of, look at this, adding a cover page, creating watermarks, hyperlinks within the documents. So lots of really cool things. Page numbers. If you don't know how to do those automated page numbers, boy, this is for you. You're going to love it. Okay, and what are the first steps in our instructions? They're always to open the start file and to enable editing. So let's do that. I'm going to minimize my browser, and I am going to open my Word file. Remember, I need to enable editing. Now, it's got a little bit of formatting on it, and I have 2 pages showing right now. If I look down in my lower left corner, you recall, and this tells me I have 5 pages. But also remember that I set my Word to show multi-pages, if you remember that from last time. How did we do that? I clicked on the 100% in the scaling, and I clicked many pages. So if you're having difficulty, you might want to do that. Sometimes you will have to set that under View also. Yeah, sometimes you can see under View here where it says multiple pages. So if it doesn't open as multiple pages, it could just be that you need to shrink it down a little bit. Now, I'm showing you this so that you can see what the document currently looks like, and so that we could review some of our skills, right? How many pages we have, that type of thing. Going back up, I'm scrolling. Minimize word. I want to look at the solution file. Now, this is opening in Adobe Acrobat Reader. This is the free version. I do not need a summary of this. Look at this fancy first page. It's got this decoration on it. Now, remember, they're labeled, these pages, as with a watermark solution sample. But look at this. I've got the author's name. I've got this nice title. And now I have an automated page number. So nobody typed page 1 here. The word processor, Microsoft Word, put that in. The date is displaying here. Now, this is not the current date. That's okay. This is the date that we wanted displayed. And I wanted to point this out in the solution file. See how it says solution sample, but underneath that you can see draft. This is the watermark that you're going to apply. What is a watermark? If you'll focus in on this sentence, oops, not all that, this sentence where it says our job, you can see draft behind it. In other words, it's not on top of it, it's behind it. And it's very faint, it's a very light color. You can adjust all these. It's a way of trying to prevent your document, like this solution sample, trying to prevent it from being copied. It's a really good idea for a draft of a contract. You want to make sure that if this is saved and distributed at a later time, that people understand this was a draft. This was not the final contract, for example, right? So anyway, look at some of this other cool stuff. Gosh, we've got this nice green font here. Look at this. You see, as I put my mouse over that, that's a hyperlink inside the document. We've got this really cool footer here that has some color to it, kind of some pizzazz. So this is what we're going to do, right? We want to understand what we're doing, not just blindly follow instructions. Push back from the trees a little bit so you can see the forest and get that overall understanding. That's how we learn. That's how we all learn, myself included. All right, now, I don't need to open Word again because if I look down in my taskbar, it's already open, isn't it? It's already open. There it is right there. So let's go to Chrome. That's where the instructions are. And I know that I've opened it and I've enabled editing. And the next thing that it tells me to do is to apply a theme to the document. Themes are cool. They help keep our colors and fonts and all types of things similar so that we have a consistent theme throughout our document. We're going to go to the Design tab, and inside this document formatting group, we're going to click Themes and specifically the retrospective theme. So I'm going to go back to Word, and they said to the Design tab. This is a new tab for us. Lots of cool stuff that we're going to explore on this tab today. So Themes. Now you might have to look a little bit. And remember, hovering just previews it. So I'm hovering over, here it is right here, retrospect. Retrospect. All kinds of cool themes there that I encourage you to look at. I'm going to click that one to apply it. Now, did you see a little bit of a change? These are brown titles now, for example, and this list across here updated to match our theme. Now, I did something that I think is positive. I'm going to save, because remember, my autosave is turned off, so I always want to save. I'm going to go back to Chrome. I've completed step 3. And in step 4, it says change the style set for the document. Verify that I'm still on the Design tab. Now, this to me was a little tricky. In the Style Set gallery, click the Basic Stylish option. All right, what are they talking about here? Let's go. I'm going to minimize Chrome. I'm back in my document. I am. They said verify we're on Design. We are. And I was looking for that style set, as they said in the instruction, right? Style set. That's what this is. That's what this panel across the top is. So there are a lot of style sets within that theme. And if I can expand it, now you start to see style set. Okay. Now, the one that they asked me to do, if I hover over the first one, can you see the tooltip? It's obscured by my mouse a little bit. It says Basic Elegant. Well, that's not it. This next one, Basic Simple. I think that was it. Was that it? So I'm going to click on that basic simple. And let's just pull that instruction back up. Oh, it was basic stylish, so I made a mistake. Let me go back. This first one, okay, what is this? Basic elegant, basic simple, basic stylish. So I'm sorry, go across one more time to basic stylish. That's it right there. Save that. Now, you're already seeing something that I'm struggling with just a little bit, which is remembering the instructions as I flip back and forth between my on-screen instructions and my, the word processor document. A couple things I'll point out up here at the top. There is a print button. I'll tell you, when I just printed this, I found that it used a lot of paper. I guess I did not try that says download. But like, see all this paper? It's not very efficient in the way that it did. So the tip that I'm going to give you, and something that I'm using today, is why don't you just copy this? You can select this. You are experts at selecting, and I'm just dragging down. And you know many ways to select, right? I don't even need those last steps. I might click at this last place. Oops, I didn't mean to check that as done. And I might, if it'll let me kind of click there, I just can select up to the top. My point is, right-click, copy if you'd like, or Ctrl+C, paste this into a blank Word document. That way you can adjust some settings and try to make it small enough to fit on fewer pages so that you don't waste as much paper. That's just a suggestion, okay? That's just a suggestion. Now, I'm going to show you another suggestion, but let's go ahead and we check that off, and let's go just a little further. Change the color theme. On the Design tab in Document Formatting Group, click Colors and change the color, blue color theme. So Design tab, Document Formatting Group, and then Colors. Design tab, this is the document formatting group, but it goes all the way across. Here's colors. Now, what they actually mean is groups of colors, because these are themes. So when they say blue, this would kind of limit my choices, which is a good thing, because it says use colors that are part of this theme. Maybe there's a corporate theme, very specific types of colors. So I'm going to click that. Now, before I do, look at your document. I'm going to move my mouse out here. Look at the colors, and then I go over and I click blue. And first of all, did you see your style set update? And we might see some changes in our document too. These titles look a little green to me, just like we saw in the solutions file. So we're on the right track. Click Save. We know we're on the right track. And your screen should match my screen. Step 6, adjust the margins for the document. So click the Layout, and in the Page Setup group, click the Margins button and select Moderate. If you've copied these instructions and pasted them into a blank Word document, you may want to adjust the margins so that more of the instructions fit on one page so that you use fewer pages. So we're going to choose Moderate. So I'm going to minimize Chrome. I'm back in my Word document. I'm going to go to Layout. This is where I'm going to find my Margins button. And what these settings, like you see normal, narrow, moderate, but what's really more descriptive is what the margins actually are. A normal margin is 1 inch all the way around. For many of your homework papers, 1 inch margins all the way around. Narrow means that you've got 1/2 inch margins all the way around. Moderate, 1 inch at the top and bottom, but 0.75 inches on the left and right. In other words, it makes it just a little wider. If I needed even different margins, there is a custom margins setting at the very bottom. But they told us to pick moderate. So I did that. Whoops, there it goes. It kind of adjusted. And what you can see is in your ruler bars. And remember we talked about you go under View and make sure Ruler is selected. to see your ruler, and that tells you your margin, the gray area over to the sides. That's your margin, right? So this white part of the ruler, that's the body. Save that. Let's go back to Chrome. We did this, we did this. Now, as I go into step 7, there are several instructions here. I don't want to make a mistake on the instructions because then the grader, the system might grade my project. It might dock a point, if I don't type something correctly, for example. So what I'm going to do, let me just bring Word forward again. And we talked about this minimize button. And I also told you that if you click this button, this is called the resize button, that if you click it, it makes this more of a window, which is very nice to move around. But it has even greater features. If I hover, now remember we said hover means I'm not clicking. I'm just keeping my mouse over there. I just moved it over there. There are some pre-built-in resizing of the window. So you might just pick one of these general formats. I'm going to go to this format because I like the Word document to be on the right. So I'm going to put that so that it fills up half the screen on the right. When I do that, everything that I have open is over here on the left. You see my Camtasia running here on the side, but I want the web browser instructions to open. Now I can have these side by side. This is a great benefit of having a nice computer screen that, is big enough for you to see. If not, maybe you have the instructions open on a tablet or something like that. Okay, now I can see, or you can watch the video with me, and that way you can see the instructions side by side. So it says click the Insert tab. Well, I'm going to come over here. I have to make the first click makes this window on the right active. So now I'm going to click Insert. It says in the header and footer group, click the footer button. Now, remember we talked about how buttons display differently when your screen is smaller, when the window for Word is smaller. So looking for these groups can be very important, and I'm looking for footer. And there are some different styles for the footer. So I'm scrolling. They want me to find Ion Dark. Now be careful because there's Ion Light, there's different ions. Ion Dark, and that's that beautiful blue band across the bottom. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And they're saying, okay, go ahead and click where it says Document Title. Now, I want you to notice that when I clicked inside Document Title, it's not regular text. In other words, my insertion point, my cursor is not flashing. Instead, there's a grayed out. All of that is grayed out, Document Title. That's because this is a field. It's a database field, which means I can use this for things later on. It might actually help me with sorting and finding my document later on, but there are other ways that I can use this field in Word. So this is your kind of first exposure to that document title, and they asked me to type alternate assessments. 2 tips on this. You'll notice it's in all caps. Even though that's true, it's all capitalized, I still used proper capitalization. In other words, I capitalized the A in alternate and I capitalized the A in assessments. That's because if I ever decide to remove that characteristic of all caps, I apply a different setting to it or just simply remove that setting. I want the case to be correct. I don't want to have to go and find and say, oh, I had lowercase and so it didn't look professional, right? So even though something is all in all caps, still use proper capitalization. The next thing they tell me is click author name. You'll notice this is a field named author. So I'm going to type this author, Lindsay. I type Lindsay Alexander. And again, I know you can't tell, but I am using proper capitalization. Now we're done with this footer, and I'm going to close the footer. Now, here's what I want you to do. When I say push back from the trees to see the forest, You completed a task, but what did you do? What happened here? What was the impact? Here's that footer. It's grayed out because it's in the margin. It doesn't become rich with color until you're editing it. One quick way to do this is just to double click. And you see how I'm now back in the footer? You also see that it opened both the header and the footer. So a real quick way to get back to the body is just to double click on the body. To get back into the header and or footer, even if the header is empty, is just to double click in that area where the header and footer are. So that's just a little tip for you. But my point is, I did not type this on every page. It would be terrible if you try to do that, because as you edit the document, see, the first creation is the easy part. It's the maintenance that's the hard part. So constantly as you change fonts, it's going to push things onto a different page. If you change the font size, then that footer, if you manually typed it, would be going into other places. Because you did not put it, when I say manually typed, because you did not put it in the body of the document, Word will just keep it in this little footer space of your document. Isn't that cool? That, folks, that's going to make your history reports and your English reports just look awesome. Okay? So you're getting in there. So let's mark this stuff done. We did all this. Put the name, and we even closed the header. We're already on step 8. Did we see how many steps we have? About 14, 15 actual steps. And then, of course, we have to submit for grading. So we're really going about at the halfway point, aren't we? Going fast. Now we're going to insert page numbers. This is so important. Come up to the Insert button, and on the Insert tab, it says look in the header footer group. Can you see that? It's over here, header footer, and it says click the drop down for page number and point to top of page. Now look at all these styles that they have. All kinds of styles. And they're telling us they want this accent bar 1. I am going to give you a tip here. I tell you what I do not like about this. It's going to say page 1, one page, and page 2, page 3, page 4. The page numbers that I prefer tend to be down here in this category called page X of Y. That's a good thing to remember. You'll see that notation in other software programs. What that means is, for example, page 1 of 7, page 2 of 13, right? So it's page of how many? Here's why that's important. Because you need to know when you receive a document or somebody hands you a paper or they, have a part of it, how many pages total was there? If you put something through a copier and you pass it out at a meeting, sometimes the last page will be missing, something went wrong with the copier and some middle pages were missing. So if you know how many pages of the total number of pages, then you'll know if you have all the pages of the report or not. And that can be really important for contracts, legal contracts. You always want to make sure you have all the pages. Accent bar. Now you see that the body is grayed out, the header is active, and you see that the number 1 is in gray. I did not select it. It's in gray in the same way that the document name and the author name were in gray, because it's a field. It's a field, right? That means that Word is going to update that field. For example, if I scroll down, look, that field says 2. And no matter how the text changes on the page, and if we add more pages or if we delete pages, Word will understand. It always knows what page. I see so many students who type the page numbers within the body of their document, and inevitably it goes wrong because something changes on the page. So you don't want to do that. You want to let Word, and you saw how easy that was to do. All right, so we picked this style, accent bar 1. Now they're saying, but wait a minute. This is a report. And if you're typing a report, for example, in the APA style, you do not put a page number on, for example, the title page, which is very often the first page of a report. So we want that first page to be different. And it says on the header and footer tab, and we're still on that tab. Do you see that? Even though my window is a little smaller, I can see that that one is highlighted. And it says in the options, click, this is options, click different first page. Now, if we get confused at any time and we can't find a group, we have trouble, we can always resize this window to be full screen again so that we can find what we need. But we're good. We can close the header using this button, or we can just simply click in the body of the document, double click. We've done this. Look at that. Here we go. And we didn't save. We've done a lot of good work. Let's save that. Now we're going to add an automatic date stamp. So we're going to navigate to page 2 and double click on the header area to activate it. Now, why page 2? Because on page 1, we said we want this page to be different. So we don't want to change this header. We want to change the header on page 2. This will change the header for page 2 and all subsequent pages. So they want me to open this up. I'm just going to double click it, right? So now I'm there. Double click the header to activate it. I did that. Place the cursor after the word page. Okay, you see my cursor blinking there. Tab twice. You see my cursor is now way over on this side. And it says to use the date and time button. So over here in this insert, there are a lot of things we can insert. This is a common one, date and time. Guess what? Under document info, remember our author field? Remember our, let's see, I think it was our document title. If we needed to insert those, we've told Word what the values for those fields are. So we could use those fields now and just insert things. There are many other what they would call quick parts that you can insert, but that's for another day. Right now, we're working on date and time. Now, as I looked at these instructions, I looked over here and it said add date to the header using month, day, and then a 4-digit year. Now, one of my concerns was in their example. It showed 01 for the date and 01, for the month and the day. So when I looked at these examples, and truly I didn't see month, I was expecting to see, Excel tends to show it more in this format. But Word really went with the examples. I did check, and this is what is shown in the solution file. So if you'll pick this very first item, this is actually showing today's date for me. So like I said, I'm in July here because I'm getting ready for you in this upcoming fall semester and beyond as we embark on this journey. So welcome 2026, right? We're in this together. They do say, before I click OK, they say have the date update automatically. So I need to check this box. Sometimes you don't want that date changing. Sometimes you want to make sure it's as of a certain day and time. In this case, they want us to update that date automatically. Then they say close this. I'm just going to double click in the body to close that. Look at that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So there we go, and there we go. Check those boxes, check it. Okay, here we are, number 10. You're going to like this too. This is very, very cool. And they skipped a step in the instructions. So very important. I'm glad you're following along in this video. They say navigate to the modified achievement requirements. Well, one thing I would do is, do you remember that on the Home tab, under Editing, is the Find? And if you remember, we can search by headings. And so this kind of sounded like a heading to me, Modified Achievement Requirements. I'm going to click that. Takes me right to it. Now, I need to click there to make sure that's active. So I've got that. and I've just closed my search box. Boom, move to it, right? So that was so fast. They say place the cursor after the third sentence ending in "to receive an alternate assessment" and press the space bar one time. So that is, here's that third sentence, but it wraps around, if you can see this, and here's an alternate assessment. Now, this is where it was great to look at the solution file, because I was a little confused as I read this instruction, because they say, okay, place the cursor after the third sentence. To me, if you say after the third sentence, you mean after the period in the third sentence. They mean before the period. So right after the T in assessment, press the space bar. Then we're going to click on Insert. Then we're going to go to this Links group, and we're going to go to Link. And so far we're on item D, 10D. This is where they miss a step. So when I click this, now this is all the different documents I've had open, and I have had a lot of documents open. The step they missed is down at the bottom where it says Insert Link. Okay, Insert Link. It will try to link to documents you've recently had open, and they're going to say place in this document. Before I go on, I want to tell you, you see all those steps? I could have replaced those steps with a keyboard command. Ctrl+K. Ctrl+K. I use this so much. I encourage you to do this. How often are you saying to someone, just go here, just go to this website, right? If you click in the address bar, you know Ctrl+C is copy. Come to your Word document or to your email. This works in many places, folks. And when you're ready to insert that hyperlink, Ctrl+K. Now, why Ctrl+K? Why not just paste it? Why not just paste that link? Because I don't want to see a link that has 50 lines. I mean, you know those really long links? Here's how to very easily shorten it. Ctrl+K gets us to this insert hyperlink. We shortcut all these steps. And when it says we should select a place in this document who is eligible, so we're going to do that. But for the text to display, whether I am linking to a web page or someplace else, I can change the text. So I could say, click here, for example, or the My Southwest homepage. And I can have the long link, but all that's in the email is my.southwest. So this is an easy way to shorten that text within your Word document, within your email, wherever you might be pasting that. Here's another thing. They don't tell us to do this, but I want to point this out because, again, it's so important. I do not like it when I am reading an email, let's say in my web browser, perhaps, and I click a link, and instead of it opening into another tab, it takes over the current browser window that I'm in, because now I can't get back all the time, right? So I want to tell it where should it open. And if you click this button, Target Frame, you can tell it to open in a new window. How nice is that? That way I can easily go back to my tab where I was reading emails or doing whatever I was doing so that I can continue my work. Okay? I think that is a polite thing to do, is to have it open in a new window. So they did not tell us to do that, so I canceled. They just told us to select who is eligible and to change this text at the top, parenthesis, see the who is eligible section, close parenthesis. Now my reader doesn't have to search for that. They can click and move to a place in this document. So cool, isn't it? Click OK. Look at that. Look at that. There is that link that we just added, that you just added to your document. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to click on Save, and I'm going to check these boxes. And all these could have been replaced with Ctrl+K. Just remember that. Okay, on to step number 11. Click the Design tab. And it says in the page background, we're going to add the watermark now. Remember that draft watermark? Now this says draft 2. That's the name of the thing that we're adding. It's just going to say draft. So we're going over here to, we're on the design tab, to watermark. Now there's some very quick watermarks that you're going to see. If your window does not display, if you don't see draft here, scroll down. See how there's more? So you can just scroll down. Also notice just a couple things. You can remove the watermark here. There's additional watermarks at office.com that you can download. And you might have a custom watermark for your company. For example, you might upload the logo of your company and have it as a very faint watermark behind the text. Something to think about. All kinds of ideas. Now I had scrolled all the way down. I'm going to scroll up. They said draft 2 is the style of draft. So what just happened? Well, look at these pages. I'm going to start, let me click Control Home to go to the top. Now, I don't see draft here because remember, we checked a box saying that the first page is different. So what Microsoft Word did is it put a section. It made that first page its own section. And it said as long as it's in this first page section, changes are always going to be separate. But as I scroll down, this is page 2. There's my watermark. This is page 3. There's my watermark. So do you see how how automated this is? This is wonderful, right? Look at that. Our footer is there. If that's your name, think of that. Your name is on every page, so people know that's your work. If this is, the page numbers are automated, and we set the date so that tomorrow this should show a different day. All right. We have finished adding the watermark. Did we save? I don't think we saved. We might want to save. Good job. Now we're going to insert a break. It says we're going to navigate to the summary heading and place the cursor at the beginning of the line. Then we're going to click the Layout tab, and in the Page Setup group, we're going to click the Breaks button and select Page. All right, so we're talking about the summary, and this is a fairly short document. We're on page 6 already. Let me just, I need to scroll up a little bit. Here's summary, and you see how it just doesn't look very nice, right? The summary is spread across multiple pages, and I'd like the summary to be very cohesive. I'd like it to be all together. Now, they tell me to go to the Layout tab and then Page Setup and Break. Okay, I'm going to make this full screen for just a moment. First of all, so you can see that it just doesn't look very nice. It's not to say that people don't put the summary like that, but I have a lot of room here at the bottom of this last page, so it might be nice to have that summary all on one page. Don't you think so? I think so. I think so. Now, here's one thing you do not want to do. You do not want to hit Enter key a bunch of times until that goes to the next page. Why? Because if you do that, then if you change the font, or let's even say you decide to eliminate a paragraph earlier in the document, all of that text is going to slide upward. So you're just going to end up with this big gaping section inside your document. And nobody wants that, right? Remember I said if you look at certain work, you can tell that it's unprofessional. So if I'm going to, you don't have to do this. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to show hide, you know that, so I can see these non-printable characters. Never, ever, ever do this. Oh goodness, don't do that. I look at that and I go, oh, they put on their resume that they know Microsoft Word. No, they don't. Obviously not, right? Let's get rid of all that. Now, what your instructions say, remember how I told you Ctrl+K could have eliminated a lot of those steps? Well, what your instructions say, and they're not wrong, just like those steps for inserting a hyperlink were almost right. They missed one little step. They said go to layout, and they said go to breaks. Now, I like that they're showing you this because I want you to see that there are all kinds of breaks. Later, when we put things in columns, you can force a column to break at a certain point. In other words, go to the next column at a certain point. There are continuous breaks. Remember that I said that page 1 is different than all the other pages? It's because it's in its special section of that page. And so it has, in essence, a continuous break so that the pages are not necessarily changing. There's just a defined section of the paper. There's all kinds of reasons that we may define a particular section of a paper without forcing something to a new page. That's what a continuous break is. They are telling us to put in a page break by clicking this. And I want you to see this special character. Do you see how it says page break? So think of these invisible characters that we've seen. These are the non-printing characters. We've seen the paragraph mark. We've seen that the little dot is a space. We've seen that the arrow is a tab. And if you don't remember this, this was in the previous videos. Now we're seeing this page break. We don't see that if we don't show hide. This is why this is so important for editing, that we turn that on. If I did not want a page break there, I can just see how I've clicked next to it and I can delete it. And I've got an extra carriage return there, so I might delete that as well. So it's just a character that doesn't show up that I can delete in the same way that I can delete a paragraph mark and in the same way that I could delete spaces or tabs. The purpose of that, what I call manual page break, is that when I add text to this page, it will not then go on to the page with my summary. These are used very, very frequently. So whenever my hands are on the keyboard and I want to, keep them, I don't want to have to keep going back and forth to the mouse, I would use the keyboard command, which is Ctrl+Enter. So what have we learned about the Control key? The Control key really amplifies the power of whatever other keys we're using. It allowed us to select this, not that, but the other, right? So we could pick and choose what we selected when we held the Control key down. And now we're seeing that it takes the Enter key, which simply creates a new paragraph, and it amplifies it so much so that it causes the Enter key to create a new page. That's awesome. Page break. Or you could click on Insert, and you could click on, oh, I'm sorry, I said Insert because I was thinking Insert. I'm sorry. You could click on Layout, and you could click on Break and Page. I'll be at the house because Control+Enter is a lot faster. Okay? And this is something we use all the time. So Layout, Page break. Now, folks, I'm teasing you when I say I'll be at the house. I'm trying to have fun a little bit in this video. If you are learning and you're new, I totally get it. Use the menus so that you can understand. I will tell you a benefit of learning the keyboard commands. These versions of Word and Windows are changing all the time. The menus change. The keyboard commands tend to stay the same year after year after year. Release after release after release. So when you learn these keyboard commands, others will be struggling saying, now, where did they put that? I think they put that under layout. I think it was under layout, or did it move? You won't even be worried about it because you will just simply remember that Control amplifies the power of the Enter key so much so that instead of creating a new paragraph, it creates a new page. Control+Enter. I hope that's helpful. Oh, like I said, we learn while we earn. Oops. And what was the other thing we learned? We learned that if we hover, I can click and say, put this back on this side. There we go. Now, summary is very nicely on its own page. It looks good. Did we save that? We should save that. And we're going to add a cover page. Remember that really cool cover page that we saw in the sample file? So we're going to come up here and click on Insert. It says then we're going to go to the Pages group, and we're going to click the cover page. Now, here's Pages group. That's kind of hard to see. I thought I was going to have to go full screen, but here's Pages. We could insert a blank page. We could have even inserted a page break here. Okay, so let's go to cover page. And look at all these pre-built cover pages. They're really beautiful, very stylish. This would make your, English report or your history report look pretty cool. They wanted us to come to this very last one and choose WISP. One thing that I'll point out is that there are even more cover pages on office.com. So you might want to explore some of those and add one that's a little fresher that maybe no one else has thought to use. So I'm going to click that cover page. Now, how many pages do I have in my document? You should have 7. We were at 6 up to this point. We just added a cover page, and so now we have 7 pages. So we click the insert. We added the WISP cover page. They like this arrow as a decorative piece, but they did not want the date control. This is one of those fields, right? So when I click there, see how it's a field? So they said to select it and then delete. So I'm pressing delete on my keyboard. I had to press it twice to get rid of it. You might have to also. Then they're saying, look where it says document subtitle. That's another one of those fields. Remember we saw those when we were working on the header? They said type in here, making sure no child is left behind. So we just told Microsoft Word this is the value of that field. That looks good. I'm going to save that. And I need to, did I save? Let me scroll down a little bit. Ah, look at this. We're about at the last step already. And look how cool our document looks. Preview and print a specific page range. So I don't want to waste paper. I don't want to have too much. Now, here's the other thing, folks. Do not print this and give it to me. I do not need a printout of your document. What you are learning is actually how to print to a digital file. You are not going to submit this digital file. This is for your understanding. You're learning here, okay? Click the File tab. This is so useful. Click on File, and then they say go to Print. Now, you could certainly print a paper copy of this, but that's not what we're doing. In your drop-down box of printers, you may have many printers like I do, but you should have one that was automatically installed called Microsoft Print to PDF. See it there? Microsoft Print to PDF. Now, they want us to print only pages 2 through 5. And so as I look at my print settings, the default is to print the whole thing. Now, I have options inside of here that I could choose. Look at this. I could print the document info, even markups and things like that. Document info is things like that subtitle, the author's name, the document title. So I could print those if I wanted. I could print the current page. I could print a custom range. You can select custom range. However, if you just type in a custom range, it understands custom range. So I want pages 2 through 5. A little trick for you is if I said 2 through and did not put the 5, it would print everything from page 2 to the end. Okay, so little tips and tricks when you go, let's just go ahead and print, all this, but 2 through 5, I'm putting the 5 back in there. So that's what we're doing. Notice some other options. If you're trying to conserve your paper, at home or even at work, you might want to change some settings, like have it print on multiple sides. Remember, we're printing to a file. We're not printing to paper. So we've selected 2 through 5. We're printing to Microsoft PDF. It says click the print button. When we do, it's going to say, and where do you want this file? Remember, we have to plan. Where are we going to save this? We're going to save it, of course, into our Word 3 folder. So here we go. And I only want one copy, obviously. Print. And it said that it wants us to call it report details. Now, I am putting a space in there because they said to put a space in there. You know, I would not put spaces. I would put a hyphen. Remember, those special characters can be problematic. You know, a space, have you ever gotten something from somebody and you keep seeing %20, %20, %20? That's because the computer, one computer, does not understand that that should just be a space. So it says, oh, I know the character for space. I interpret that as %20. And it ends up with that. That's why I don't use that. Just put a hyphen. That is one of those symbols that translates pretty easily from operating system to operating system. So click on Save, and it just printed that into the document. Now, if you downloaded Adobe Acrobat Reader, you could go ahead and open that now. And look at our document. We told it to start at page 2, which is exactly what it did. And we've got our watermark, and we've got our beautiful banner. We even have our hyperlink. Oh, but it doesn't seem to be working in this PDF version. That's interesting. So it's something to be aware of. You know, it has our date up there, all that good stuff. Other things that are not going to work, we told this date to update automatically in Word. In this PDF, it's not going to do that. Okay, so be aware that there are some little changes like that. Okay, but you know, the page numbers work great, right? I'm going to close this, so that's nice for us to look at. Do we think that that our finished document looked like the solution? We could go back and check, but I'm feeling like this is pretty good. So should I go ahead and upload? I sure hope you said no, because we still have this open. I'm teasing you because remember we said save and close Word all together. So I'm closing that all together. You know what, I'm even going to leave this since we learned how to arrange our windows so that this one is just a part of the screen. How do we get to the top quickly? Control Home, right? It had to rearrange our steps. Step 1 we downloaded. Step 2 is do the work. We did the work. Maybe that's step 1A. So now it's time to upload. So I'm going to click upload. And it's in the Word 2 folder, right? That's wrong because we're on Word 3. I can navigate to Word 3. Another thing I can do, let's just make sure, is I should be able to grab this. Sometimes, yeah, I can just grab it. I'm sorry. Instead of clicking upload my file, so I just can't, I had that open, but I just canceled because it's in the Word 2 folder. In this way, I know I've got the right file, right? I don't have to navigate around. I know I've got the right one. Press and drag. Now, I have not released yet. I'm just hovering over that area, and you see how it changed. The screen just suddenly changed. Now I'm going to drop. The file is not from the correct project. Ooh, this looks like an integrity violation. So I have an error there, and I'm going to have to find out about that. You're not going to have that error. You saw me download, do the work, and upload that file, so I'm not 100% sure what is going on there. But if we have this problem, we're going to have, okay, let's use this as a learning opportunity. I really, truly was not anticipating that. Let's use this as a learning opportunity. In PAWS, if you look up towards the top, and in fact, I think in the Getting Started folder, and you open that, you're going to see that I have a lot of help things available to you. Now, some of this applies to a specific class, but look at this, SIMnet help and technical support. I would ask that the first thing that you do is that you let me know that you have a problem, okay? Send me a screenshot of the error message, even if you want to take a picture of that with your phone. If you're familiar, if you have a button on your computer that says PRT, SC. That means print screen. If you push that button, it will capture your screen. You can paste it into an email and send it to me so that I can see the error message. But go right ahead and contact SIMnet. So if it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm probably not going to see that email until sometime tomorrow. You need to go ahead and call tech support so that you can address this. But so SIMnet, tech support, phone, online, and chat. For example, if I click this, this is also in your syllabus. So notice their hours of operation. They're talking about 24-hour operation except on Fridays, except on Saturdays. So be aware of that as you plan your work. This is one of those cases of Murphy's Law. Have you ever heard of Murphy's Law? Murphy's Law is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and at the worst possible time. So if you only have an hour, 2 hours to submit this work because it's the night that it's due, Murphy's Law might catch you because anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and at the worst possible time, meaning that the tech support may not be open. If you had completed the assignment just one day earlier, you might have time to resolve the problem. So try to give yourself that time. Okay, try to give yourself that time. But tech support, again, this information is in the syllabus too for tech support, but this is a little bit more detailed. So I hope that helps.